Nelson Jordan. I'm Chris Nelson. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on all of our social media pages, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. So, we had week 7 in college football, and you know what that means. We've got some shout-outs, and we've got some call-outs. Let's get right into it. Call out Missouri. Giving the game away. Nelson, this is not how you execute when you're looking to win a game at home against an opponent who has dominated you historically. This was your opportunity, big stage, and going for it on the 4th and 4, why not just leave the offense out there and go for it for real? I get it. A fake punt disguises that you're going for it, and they almost caught him off guard. They came up just short of it, but when you do come up short and give Alabama the short field, it just backfired and didn't work in their favor. It was a bad decision. It was a bad call. I criticize Eli Drinkwitz for that. And then you have back-to-back 7-yard losses on Alabama. They're in a 3rd and 24. You give up a 16-yard gain, and then on 4th and 8, give up an even bigger gain on that play on what was an incredible throw by Ty Simpson. And credit to him for making that. And then you give up the touchdown on top of that. I mean, that just can't happen. You can't have them in 3rd and 24 and wind up giving up a touchdown after you fake the punt and cost yourself field position. Everything was wrong with that. And they put themselves in a bad position, and then it comes down to the end of the game. You had the ball and still had your chance just down 3 to go deliver, and your receiver's not ready. He's not looking for the ball. You throw the ball too early. You're off target and overthrow him, and throw it right to the safety who's over the top. It was a bad decision to force the ball in there in the first place. The receiver was covered underneath, and there was a safety over the top, and you throw an interception. You throw it right to him for the interception. Game over. I mean, that can't happen in that scenario. It just can't. I get it. He just had the touchdown catch on the previous possession. He just had the big catch on the 4th and 6 to set that up in the first place. But they blew it. And there's a number of other things we could go back to throughout this game for Missouri where you're like, they made a mistake here and cost themselves this game. Now, shout out Alabama on the other side for making the plays necessary that were given to them, those opportunities, taking advantage and winning the game. And shout out Ty Simpson for the performance he had. I do have to call out Alabama for Ryan Williams, your star sophomore receiver, only gets 1 target and 0 receptions. I mean, in modern college football in 2025, you have to find a way to get the ball into your star player's hands at some point. I know Alabama has a lot of guys, spread the ball around. That's fine. But he has to be able to get some catches and some touches. It has to happen. Get the ball in his hands some. Even if he doesn't have a major impact, it needs to be some impact outside of being used as a decoy. And you allowed Missouri the opportunity to have won the game if they didn't make their mistakes by doing that. Shout out Indiana, going on the road out west to Eugene, Oregon, in Austin Stadium and beating the Ducks. I mean, we're talking about the Indiana Hoosiers in football doing that to the Oregon Ducks. That was incredible. Shout out them for that. It was very impressive, and they won by 10. It's not like it was a close game, 30-20. Go ahead and get it done. Surratt, the receiver, great performance on his part. Very impressive all around.
You're not going to compliment their defense?
Yes. I'll let you do that because here's my thing is, and I know I'm only going by what's on paper. When we watched the game, or at least good portions of it, I was paying attention to some other games, including the Red River rivalry as well. But 20 points is a bit much to give them full credit. As impressive as they were under the circumstances, and I know you're looking at it saying it's Oregon's offense, so high-flying, so dominant, but still, if you're going to compliment a defense at that level, I think they have to give up less than 20.
Right, but I'll just piggyback off
pick 6, to be fair,
saying.
so I guess only 13. So, you know what? You're right. I am being unfair. I should. But go ahead. I'm going to let you take that.
6 sacks, 8 tackle for losses, 2 interceptions. I mean, that to go into Eugene, Oregon, of all places, and pull that off against a number 3 ranked team.
Yeah, Austin Stadium is tough. That atmosphere was wild. Game day was there.
So, I mean, gotta give credit to Indiana. I mean, hey, I'll raise my hand to this. I said about Indiana, being a dark horse this year, possibly, right?
Yeah, you. I believe they were a top 20 team just barely. I think maybe number 20 in the preseason
Something
poll.
like
and
that, yeah.
I wasn't willing to buy into Indiana. And to be fair, we still have half the season to go, so we'll see. But I was not going to buy into Indiana, and you were willing to buy in. And I don't think either of us thought they would go get this win. I don't think many people did outside of Pat McAfee.
No.
But all the credit in the world to them, and they looked good doing it. I can only speak for myself. I never thought in a million years this was going to happen. I thought it was not only and win by 10. I thought they were going to get crushed.
Be truthful, man. Hey, a win's a win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
all the credit in the world to them. That's why I'm shouting them out. They deserve it. Call out the officials in the game at Auburn on the Plains in the Deep South Solstice rivalry. That was some of the worst officiating I've ever seen in the final 2 minutes of the half. So I want to start with the play that everybody's talking about, first of all, in the supposed controversy. Guys, it was a fumble. Move on. The officials actually did get that right. That's not where my issue with the officials comes into play. It's part of that, but we'll touch on that in a moment. I just want to establish the fact that you cannot see on replay whether or not that ball broke the plane. It's too close. He did fumble the football. So even if he did break the plane before he fumbled the football, if you want that to be a touchdown, don't fumble the football. The moment he fumbled the ball, if there was any doubt whether or not it broke the plane, which there clearly was significant doubt, it needs to be called a fumble. It was the right call. It was the right call. Get over yourselves, Auburn fans. Get over yourself, Hugh Freeze. Don't fumble the ball at all. Just get in the end zone, and then there's no controversy. If you're going to leave it up to that, that's on you. You deserve that to happen. But for the officials, I've said this for so many years now, I'm tired of saying it, we need a review clock. A 2-minute review clock maximum. It should really only be a minute. What the call was in the field, if you can't see enough after a minute or maybe two to determine anything different, then you stick with the call in the field. You're the law on the field. You can get it right in that amount of time. All this extra time you're spending, nothing changes. Ever in any play. Nothing was going to change. We knew that call needed to stand, regardless of what Sean McDonough was saying. That call needed to stand. And Greg McElroy seemed more on the fence, so I'm not going to call him out for this. But that needed to be left alone. Now, beyond the length of the review, then we just delved into chaos. I mean, Auburn has to be criticized here for falling apart after that play and their defense just committing countless penalties. But, oh my God, that final 2 minutes of the first half took 40 minutes in real time. I want that 40 minutes of my life back. I want it back. It was miserable to watch. Penalty after penalty after penalty. We had a targeting call. Cornerback was ejected. One of their top cornerbacks didn't play the second half, and we saw how the second half went, which all the credit in the world to Kirby Smart for the halftime adjustments he made, and Georgia dominating that second half. They've dominated the series. If you look at the definition of a rivalry, it's hard to call that a true rivalry outside of how long they've been playing at this point in time with how one-sided it has been. So credit to them, and they deserve the win on the road, and it is an impressive win regardless of that. But, I mean, that just sucks. The targeting rule needs to go. It doesn't exist in the NFL. It's just, this is all got absurd, but oh my God, 40 minutes to play 2 minutes of football, Nelson, and all the flags we saw, it was terrible. They took so long to make the calls. Even when they didn't throw a flag, they were stopping the game for stuff. It was exhausting. I'm sorry, what do you got?
No, I was going to say, no, it was a boring game. The only exciting play was that scamper by the Georgia quarterback getting in for a touchdown to essentially ice the game at that point. So, I mean, the game was just, it was boring. And boring for so, too, because Cam Newton was getting enshrined in their Hall of Fame, too. So, not a good way for Auburn University to, commemorate Cam Newton.
Yeah, exactly. How disappointing is that, man? You have a chance to beat your oldest rival in a game when you're honoring one of the great players of all you've ever had, even if he was only there for a season. What he did that year was unbelievable. Heisman Trophy, undefeated national champion, so on and so forth. And we know what a big figure Cam Newton is, the NFL career he had, what he's doing now in the media. And he was having a great time there, and you just let him down like that with that second half. I mean, they dominated the first half up until that ending. It was... Yeah. Call out Penn State. Let's just go step by step here.
I've been saying it for weeks.
Let's just go step by step here, okay? You lose at home to Northwestern. First of all, shout out Northwestern for going on the road to Happy Valley and winning that game, pulling out that win. Very impressive. They deserve credit for that. Penn State, unfortunately, Drew Aller goes down at the 2-minute timeout, and his season is over. He'll miss the second half of the season. It's likely the end of his career. He has no remaining eligibility, and he played 6 games, so it's highly unlikely he gets a medical redshirt. I'm pretty positive he's not even eligible for one. We hope some team drafts him, takes a chance on him. He's able to get fully healthy, be good to go for training camp, and see what he's able to do, and maybe he can prove that he is as good as what has always been advertised, that he's really never lived up to for the most part. But we wish the best for him in his recovery and getting an opportunity to be drafted and play in the NFL. Absolutely. No question there. You and I are on the same page with that with all players. Now, That being said, the backup quarterback is thrust into duty in a tough position. You only need a field goal to win it. You're only down a point, but you get stopped on fourth down, turnover on downs. Northwestern takes over, you're out of timeouts. They win the game. They're on the clock out. It's over. That's a tough loss. Who knows what happens if Drew Aller doesn't get hurt, the way that game ends, the way he plays, the way the rest of this season goes. We will never know. I get you also lost to a UCLA team with an interim head coach, interim offensive play caller. I get it. You lost in double overtime at home to Oregon. You threw an interception to end that one. I understand all of this. I understand all the frustration, go back through the years. But let's go back even further. Why did you give James Franklin this massive contract extension if there was any doubt? And there was doubt, because you wouldn't be making this decision halfway through the season if there wasn't doubt. Why make it halfway through the season? I get you lost your quarterback. You added insult to injury by losing the game, and now you further it by firing the coach with half the season to go. There's no benefit in that. It changes nothing. And this would have been the case even if they had waited until after the season. You're going to pay him a nearly $50 million buyout, the second biggest buyout of all time, so that he doesn't coach you for the next 6 seasons. The problem with that is, why didn't you not give him that massive extension if there was doubt? I have to come back to that. But you paying him that, you've mortgaged your future. Same thing Oklahoma State did with Mike Gundy. I have no optimism for Penn State for the rest of this season or going forward. Penn State fans, this did not go your way. Sit there and celebrate James Franklin being fired all you want because you somehow think that you're this power program that should be contending for national championships, even though outside of Joe Paterno's glory days in the 80s, you've shown no signs of that really being who you are. This is who you are. You're not Ohio State. You're not Michigan. This is who you are. So I hope you enjoyed this ride, because I'm not optimistic at all, and I'll leave it to Nelson to call me out if I end up being wrong about this. That's all I've got on mind, Nelson. What do you got for us?
Wow, more so than you. Let's see. Let's go ahead and let's start off with Navy versus Temple. I got a couple of shout-outs here. You know, Blake Horvath is turning out to be one of the most interesting players in all of college football. He's got the talent that he can throw the ball. Obviously, he's a pure runner. But for him to, again, consecutively, almost by himself, 300 all-purpose yards. For some reason that Navy, I don't know if Navy's in the top 25. Maybe you can fact check that for me real quick.
Not.
But that's insane to think that Navy's not in the top 25, because they got a heck of an offense, especially with him at quarterback. We also saw another couple of key players too in this game, go off as well for Temple. It was a back and forth shootout. That's really what it was. You had Jay Becker, running back, 24 for 97, 2 TDs. You had Kajia Halloween. He went 9 for 146 also for Temple. The game was just fun and loaded. How about UNLV versus Air Force at Alliant Region Stadium? UNLV, for the first time, they are now 6-0, and Air Force also again. Now, Air Force hasn't been good for quite some time, but this is the second straight week that they put up a good fight. But Air Force, my goodness, shout out to the rushing attack offense. 428 total yards rushing.
Really?
That is insane. Let me repeat that for everybody. 428 total yards rushing. I'm not kidding you. Chris, double check if you want. There was over 1,000 yards total in this game. 600 average. Literally, it was a split by 603 and 597. It was the most craziest stat I've ever seen.
1,200 yards of offense. Doesn't it remind you a little bit watching the service academies and the way they run the ball? Not just old school football, but also like when we were growing up, because no one could throw the ball when you were a little kid that well, so you just ran the ball all the time. Isn't that what it reminds you of? You might throw the ball in like a 3rd and 12, but otherwise you're running the ball every single play because
triple option Georgia Tech style.
When we were kids, it's like Pop Warner football. It really is, and they're called Air Force, and yet this is what they do. But hey, sorry.
And I got to give the ultimate shout out to Anthony Calendra. He scored the game-winning touchdown on himself on a scramble late in the game, but I also want to shout him out. He went 20 for 32 for 361 yards and 1 touchdown as well. So shout out to UNLV, 6-0 for the first time and God knows how long. I want to give a shout out to Nebraska, going to Maryland and crushing the possible belief that Maryland could have had any run in this Big Ten conference whatsoever if they did have any. Again, Emmett Johnson, he looks like to be one of the best college football running backs in the college football 21 for 176 on the ground by himself. Let me repeat that. 21 for 176. And then the wide receiver, Kazia Hunter, 5 for 125 receiving yards and 2 TDs. Heck of a game.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Dylan Raiola, who I believe threw 2 interceptions. I think Nebraska had 3 turnovers, but he wound up 3 interceptions. So all 3 turnovers were him. 3 interceptions, and then they wound up winning the game. And we can talk about Jake Browning against the Jaguars, 3 interceptions and leads the game-winning drive. Same thing here. I know his coach was happy with him.
I have a rule.
Eli Manning
I have a rule of thumb.
I
have a rule of thumb. If you go above 2 interceptions, couldn't do it.
Oh, so we're putting that rule in place. With Jake Browning, it wasn't there. Okay.
I have a rule of thumb. Okay. Yeah, 2 interceptions, no.
Hey, I watched Jared Goff last year throw 5 interceptions and win a game. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's nearly impossible. I want to give a shout out between the game of Pittsburgh and Florida State. If anybody watched this game, Florida State, they look like, you know how everybody has that meme where someone's calling you fraudulent alert? Well, it looks like Florida State might be that fraudulent alert phone call. Because Pittsburgh, they went into their house and they gave them a whooping. True freshman quarterback, Mason Henschel, 385 total all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns. Yes, he did have 2 bad picks, but he was crucial in this game. And for a true freshman QB to walk into Florida State and have that kind of game, good job.
Hang on a second.
Colorado and Iowa State.
Hang on a second.
Go ahead.
Florida State, I understand they're a big brand, but they were 2-10 last year. Let's stop.
But their defense.
To give them a little bit of an excuse, they did have a lot of injuries, especially in offense. But regardless, they were 2-10 last year. We got to stop hyping them. All right, go ahead.
Okay, but their defense. I feel like you're not. I mean, we're not focusing on what they did last year. We're focusing on what they have done this year. And Florida State had
they beat Alabama.
Marquee victory against Alabama, huh?
In the open. Okay. We don't even know what Alabama is yet. They could wind up being horrible.
But we have seen up until last week, I'd say week 6, that they've had a good defense and their defense has represented. And up until this week, they should have dominated this game against a true freshman quarterback, which they did not. And that true freshman quarterback dominated him. So
I did not think Florida State's defense was good against Virginia or Miami. I'm not with that, but
okay.
Not to take credit away from Pitt. I wasn't taking away from Pitt or the true freshman quarterback who's been tremendous. I didn't mean to do that. I just think we need to slow the brakes and acting like Florida State is what they once were. They went 2-10 last year, and they really have only
ladies and gentlemen,
they've sucked for years.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you were to speak facts about every single team in college top 25, and you were to say, "Hey, betting man, this left and right," I would guarantee you at least 50-50, if not less, he would make you some money. How about that? But no, that's all jokes aside. Colorado, Iowa State. Caden Salter, 16 for 25, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns against that Iowa State defense, which is pretty darn good.
And very
Joseph Williams, 8 for 128 yards, 1 touchdown. And the Colorado defense for what they did. Now, granted, again, the Colorado defense, they're not great, but what they were able to do in the fourth quarter with stifling that Iowa State offense late, that's what turned the game around. That's what flipped it on its head. And Colorado was able to go into Iowa State and take that win from them.
No. That game was in Boulder. That was a home game for Colorado.
Boulder. Excuse me.
That was a home game for Colorado. Yeah. Those fans were very happy. They stormed the field, got fined $50,000 for it. Deion Sanders was not happy about that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. He's like, it's not a bad thing that our fans can, run on the field. What gives? Ole Miss and Washington State. Hey, question, do you know when the actual quarterback for Ole Miss is supposed to come back by any chance?
Austin Simmons? Well, I am curious about that because I think there's going to wind up being a situation. They have a huge game, by the way. They're going to Athens to play Georgia on Saturday. And I'm curious because if he's available and fully healthy and Trinidad Chambliss struggles, which a lot of the Ole Miss fans weren't overly happy with Trinidad Chambliss at times on Saturday, would Lane Kiffin go ahead and put Austin Simmons in there? I mean, that was your guy. He won the job in camp, right? So he was your starting quarterback.
Right.
So maybe if Trinidad Chambliss really struggles for some drives, you throw him in there. So, I'm curious with you on that as well. Because remember, when the injury happened, he suited up for every game, if I'm not mistaken. He suited up for the first game afterwards, and he played in that game. He threw a touchdown pass. He didn't look healthy, but... So I agree that is something that probably needs to come into consideration. Obviously, they got by on Saturday, but that's a great question. I was thinking the exact same thing, and I am curious to see that on Saturday because I would not be surprised to see Trinidad Chambliss struggle and finish a drive poorly. And Austin Simmons be put in the game, and we'll see what he could do. And I'm not saying rotate quarterbacks, but I don't have a problem with it. If a quarterback struggles, you put the other guy in. I mean, we do it with every other position. So,
yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'll leave it as a footnote. This is a what if. This is not me saying by any means that he should take Austin Simmons' job ultimately. But if Trent Chambliss goes into Athens, Georgia, and shows that defense up, he's gonna make it really hard for Lane Kiffin to be like, do I really want to go back to Austin Simmons, or do I want to stay with the hot hand? Because, I mean, the rest of the season, I mean, Trent Chambliss, Trinidad Chambliss, he's been playing out of his mind the last couple of games.
They were not happy with him on Saturday. They felt like he was very...
No, he had an average game. He had an average game.
He had some spectacular plays again, but some bad plays. So, and again, the Georgia defense is a whole different level, different quality.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's be excited about that game. Ole Miss beat them last year, so let's be excited about that.
It's going to be a great game, like you said. But yeah, those are all my takes.
I think it's a game-to-game thing. If they're both healthy, you start the guy who's the hot hand, as you said. But if you need to make a change to ensure that your team wins the game, you do so, and then whatever game week, you evaluate both of them and figure out who the better option is. I mean,
correct.
Yeah,
correct.
It's game.
Yeah, those are my call-outs and shout-outs. I don't have anything else to add unless there's something that you wanted to go ahead and throw in there, but that's it for me.
No, but I love how you say call-outs first. Positive, optimistic Nelson wants to throw out the negatives first. I'm just messing with you, man. It's always good stuff, guys. We love doing this and we have fun with it. We hope you enjoyed as well. We will see you back for it next week and for all of other content coming your way shortly. For Nelson Jordan, I'm Chris Nelson. Go subscribe to that YouTube page. This has been the first and final word. Cue that music.